Hi, and welcome to this edition of Supervisor Spotlight. My name is Angie Carpenter, Town of Islip Supervisor, and I'm absolutely delighted today to welcome our guest, Tim Mooney, who is the, what's your official title? President, CEO, main captain of Fire Island Ferries, and owner of Fire Island Ferries.
All the above, guilty.
All of the above. Fire Island Ferries is so much a part of the fabric of what the town of Islip is all about, I think. You know, we're on the water, our entire southern border is on the water, and nothing, you know, beats being down at our marina and watching those ferries go in and out. People will go down there, park their cars, and just sit there and unwind, decompress, and you offer a part of that therapeutic service. But so tell us a little bit about the history of Fire Island Ferries, how it all came to be.
It came to be back in 1948, and there was an RFP that was put out by the Village of Ocean Beach, and three gentlemen that, the founders of Fire Island Ferries, put a bid in, Bob White, John Van Bree, and Elmer Patterson, and they won the bid. And then they went, oh my gosh, now we got to.
Now what do we do?
Now what do we do?
We better buy a boat.
And so they had no equipment, and they put together a fleet of 4 boats at the time. They had the original Queen, the old Fire Island Queen. The original Fire Island Miss, which was a converted rum runner, and actually the Queen was a yacht and one of the previous Point of Woods boats. Then they bought an oyster dredge and made it the Fire Island Maid, which was the freight boat back in the day.
Gotcha.
And they had a boat built in Freeport, the Fire Island Belle.
Freeport or Freeport, Maine?
No, Freeport,
Long Island. Wow.
So that was the start of it in 1948. And since then, you know, we've grown, we've picked up other locations and have the opportunity to purchase some of the other operators that were in existence on the South Shore here. But that's where it began, 1948. My father started as a deckhand on the freight boat in.
So what year did he start?
1948.
Oh, so he was there as a worker bee.
Yeah, he
in
started
the
out
beginning.
as.
Oh, that's neat.
And then he traded places with one of the guys that was on the ferries and said, I'd rather work on the freight boat. And so my father moved over from freight to the passenger side of things.
Gotcha.
So that didn't take very long. And then he bought the business from the original owners in 1970.
1970. So he put a lot of years in.
Oh,
working.
He
in
earned
the
his
business.
way to be asked to do that. So
22 years.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And so, but that's how we started way back in the day. And they used to charter boats from the capture fishing fleet for Sundays when everybody was leaving. So, they would just cobble together whatever equipment they could find to get the people back and forth.
So where you're operating out of in Bayshore, is that where they started? Or was there a different?
They actually started on Maple Avenue on the west side when Gil Clark's was there.
Oh, okay. I remember.
So they are on the west side, and then in 1950 they bought the property, the Ocean Beach Terminal property in 1950, and opened up that terminal after they had it built in 52. And but it started right off on Maple Avenue. The Fair Harbor Ferry ran off of Maple Avenue, and there was a lot going on down there at that point.
It's a busy little spot today too.
Yeah,
today. So
absolutely.
If my math serves me correctly, this year would be 55 years that you have Fire Island Ferries.
With the family.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's exciting. So when you say the family, so your dad started it, and when did you come on board?
I came on board in 2004 out of the computer industry, and my father was looking for some help. And
Succession planning.
Yeah, succession planning, exit strategy, whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. So he was looking to be in Florida more in the winter and play golf and do the things you're supposed to do when you got to his age.
Yeah.
And I was happy to come down and help him out.
That was great.
That was
that's
great.
really great.
It is great.
In addition to your dad that you speak of, I know your mom was very much a part of the business, Patricia.
Oh, yep. My mom was definitely a part, and she had, I don't know if you remember the Evening Star. We had
I
the
do
dinner
remember
boat,
the Evening Star.
and
I do.
that was her baby.
Uh-huh.
And so that was something that we had for, I think, 20 years or so. And then my father decided we don't want to be in the
Boat
on
catering.
water catering business.
Right.
So that went down to South Carolina,
Uh-huh. Okay.
and it's still down there working.
Wow, that's great. I can remember when I was working in my business, that was a treat for our employees. We would take them, for dinner on the Evening Star one evening in the summertime.
Oh, it was an amazing boat.
Yeah.
It was really a lot of fun, and it was big. I mean, it
Yeah.
held a lot of people, and we did weddings, or my mother would do weddings, and she had the Chippendales on there, and a murder mysteries, and Italian night, and Irish night.
She was very innovative,
Yeah,
your mom.
she had a good time
Yeah,
with that.
and she had a passion for it.
Yeah.
She really loved it.
Yep.
And it was an honor for me to really get to know both of them over the years. They were really very, very special. So it's been a long time, and we spoke a little bit about succession planning. And what do we have for the next generation?
I have 2 out of my four children are in the business.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
Brendan, who's the oldest, he's CFO and running the landside operations. And then Morgan, who is one of our twin girls, she's Captain Morgan, and she's on the marine side. And then she's also, we just put her in as CEO of the Marine Services Group.
Cool.
So that's very exciting. I'm glad I've got a succession plan and some more family coming up behind me, and our granddaughter looks like
Might be interested. That's really awesome.
They may be candidates.
Yeah, that's great. That really is great, because when there's such a history there with your family, with your parents, and you obviously threw yourself into it. So much of your heart is in it, and to have to walk away and turn it over to a stranger, it's got to be so rewarding to know that your family's right behind you there.
Yeah, and I think in general that's a challenge for a lot of
Oh, absolutely.
family businesses where the next generation doesn't have the same passion.
Right.
And says, yeah, I don't want to work as hard as my mom and dad did. I'm
Yeah.
going to go do something else. And
Well, I was
And-
fortunate. The business that I started, my son took over.
Yeah.
And he's still operating it, and it's, probably 50 years when you think about it. And it's kind of exciting to see. I'm not quite sure if the next generation is going to be there, but you never know. You never know.
Believe me, my Brendan and Morgan worked in another business coming out of college. Morgan wanted to be a teacher, and Brendan was, a business major and working someplace else. And they said, Dad, this isn't what I thought it was going to be.
Right.
And we come back to the Ferries.
Well, that's the best. That's really
and
the
I
best.
said, you certainly can.
Yeah. You have to let them find their way. You really, really do. But this is really delightful, and we're going to take a little break, and we will be back with Tim to tell us more about Fire Island Ferries.
You're watching ITV, Channel 18, Islip Television.
Hi, this is Angie Carpenter, Town of Islip Supervisor, back on Supervisor Spotlight, and today we have with us Tim Mooney, who is the owner of Fire Island Ferries and keeps it going with an incredible team, I've got to say. I use the ferry, and the caring that comes across from all of the team on the boat, from the captains to the guys that grab the luggage, or it's just wonderful to see. It really is.
Thank
It's
you.
a good culture there. Really reflects well on the company.
And we're very proud of that.
Yeah.
I mean, most of our employees started at 16 years old, in high school, and that was their first job. And that rings true today. I mean, every year we're bringing in a batch of new 16-year-olds as, some of the kids graduating from college move on to other careers. But all of the captains and the people that work for us are homegrown. We don't have, and we've been fortunate enough not to need professional hires. That, the town of Islip basically has supplied us with the resources we need from an employment perspective, and it's been very strong.
Yeah.
Very, very
well,
strong.
that's great.
And
That's
the kids
great.
are great.
Well, I was going to ask you what some of the challenges are in the business. And I know one of the greatest challenges that all business seem to be facing now, no matter what, is help, good qualified help. But from what you're saying, that doesn't seem to be a problem for you.
Well, we're fortunate, at least in the marine industry. I think one of the selling points we have is everybody's home every night. If you
Okay.
want to look, even going to Orient Point or going to Port Jeff, you stay on the boat overnight. When you're leaving the next morning early from the other side or what.
Right.
So we can hire younger people and bring them up through the work process. And we have binders and binders of applications every year for kids looking for jobs. And so we're pretty fortunate that we're oversubscribed, and so we can be picky about the people we bring on. And that's been very successful for us. And, you're a testament to that. I mean, the kids are really good, and when we do the orientations, we see, don't take this the wrong way, but treat everybody like your grandmother, and
Yeah.
you'll never go wrong.
Yeah. But it's true, you see it. And I know a couple of years back when my husband was struggling physically, you didn't have to ask. I mean, they were right there to help assist on and off. They just really, that caring really came across, without
Thank you.
knowing
And
who anybody is or whatever. It didn't matter. I watched it across the board,
And
how genuine they are.
And the new kids pick up on that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, the 16 and 17-year-olds, watch the older kids and the college students, and they see how they behave. And I think, genuinely everybody wants to do a good job and be very accommodating and helpful.
And make it pleasant, because for whether you're going over there for business or pleasure, and there are a lot of people that go over to work, on the beach, all of the help that is
Sure.
there, those that work in the hotels or the restaurants, for the most part, a lot of them are commuting off. And it just gives them that kind of,
Well, it's so expensive to rent a house over there now.
well, that's true. That's true.
They
It's
used
hard.
to, all those kids used to get together and, the lifeguards or the staff from one restaurant or another and rent a house. And,
Right.
and the pricing is at a point where they can't afford to do it anymore.
I was reading an article too. There aren't, talking about the group homes of years ago, where it would be kids that were working, at the restaurants or the hotels or whatever, and the gift shops. But there doesn't seem to be those kinds of opportunities any longer.
I think that demographic is across the island. We've seen it in Kismet. We've seen it in Ocean Beach and Ocean Bay Park. And what's happened is those group homes have been bought by families.
Right.
And so you traded, a share house or a group house with, on the weekends, 20 or 30 kids in it.
Right.
And now the house has mom, dad, and 2 kids in it.
Right, exactly.
And so, they used to be able to have enough of a share, and they have a mattress on the floor or whatever, but just something that would work for them.
Yeah.
And now that's gone, and we've adjusted our ferry schedule, so we can get those kids off at night, especially, and get them, the waiters, the bus staff, the bar staff or security. We make sure that we can accommodate them, and we work with the village very closely with the chamber over there to make sure that we have the schedule for the right times, so they can do a second seating,
Exactly.
get the cleanup done.
Yeah.
So that's critical for them.
Oh, it is. And, having an operation like yours, your willingness to work with the users of the service really, again, speaks volumes, because you're not just saying, this is it, you figure it out, but you're communicating with them, and it's a great relationship.
And we try to, my philosophy is, try to give back, because we do ask a lot of the communities over there in the summer. When the sun's out and it's a beautiful day and we're bringing a lot of people over, that puts stress on the community.
Yeah, there's a burden on some.
And so, I want to, when we have an opportunity and it makes sense, I want to be able to give back and accommodate, the people that are making Fire Island work and be a good place to visit and live and stay. And I want to make sure we're supporting them in a proper way.
Well, you are, because I hear it all the time. I've been volunteering a little bit with the community fund over there, and whether it's the community fund, the Ocean Beach Association, the Chamber of Commerce, whomever it is, invariably, oh yes, Tim Mooney, they were very helpful with the ferry and getting whatever.
Yeah.
So, you've been a great partner to all of the groups over there.
And some of that's pretty easy for us. We're going anyway, right?
Well, not everybody feels that way.
And I do,
Yeah.
and I want to make sure that, when Ocean Beach or Salt Air or Kismet's having a community function, that we're getting, the stuff they need over there to make that work, and get people over, whether it's musicians or politicians or, they're doing an art fair and get everybody over and back. It's fun, we get, we're blessed being in the town of Islip more than most in the country, and we have 2 months to really make it work. And so you want to do all you can in those 2 months to make it a good experience.
And it is 2 months. As much as people try to say there's a shoulder season and we have to, offer this, once school starts, forget it.
It's,
all
even
bets
now
are
the
off.
kids aren't out.
Yeah.
And well, we haven't had the best of weather.
That's
Mother Nature
speaking
hasn't
of
been
challenges.
Yeah. And so, until the kids are out of school, it's, it doesn't change. Even with the college kids out, it doesn't move the needle that much.
Yeah. But so back to the challenges. You have to think that weather, obviously, getting people back and forth, and not as many when the weather is not bad, but people are going back and forth regardless of what the weather is, because people are working there. And I happened to be on the ferry last Saturday, and the wind was absolutely howling, waiting for the boat to arrive. Everybody was like tucking in behind the wall, because you just felt like you were going to be blown away. So I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is going to be a bumpy ride going across. And it was like smooth as silk. It was really amazing. Your vessels are incredible.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you. And there's no extra charge for those rides. It's like a Disney, adventure ride.
Yeah.
But it's been that boat design is my father's. He came up with that.
Well, hold that thought, because we're going to take a break again,
Okay.
but we will be back. I want to hear about that. I didn't know that he was a ship designer, too. We will be right back with Tim Mooney, Fire Island Ferries. Thank you.
You're watching ITV, Channel 18, Islip Television.
Hi, this is Angie Carpenter, Town of Islip Supervisor, back with our latest edition of Supervisor Spotlight, and delighted to have with us today Tim Mooney from Fire Island Ferries. And we were just talking offline a little bit, and we kind of forget sometimes, you are an incredible recruitment tool for economic development for the town of Islip and really for Suffolk County when you think about it, because people come from all over to go to Fire Island for the summer, to visit for the day. And what really amazes me, to this day, there are so many people that live here in the town of Islip who have never been to Fire Island. Do you still find that?
It's amazing.
Isn't
Angie.
it?
I agree with you 100%.
I just-
You can tell those people when they are standing in front of the terminal. And I'll say, is this your first time? And they'll go, yeah, it's our first time here. And where do you live? Oh, I live in Brentwood. I said, it took you this long to get
I
here
know,
from Brentwood
I know.
or Central Islip
Yep.
or wherever. It doesn't matter. Even
Or Bayshore, even for that matter.
and so I'm always intrigued about that. I said, you're really going to like it. And I make a point of trying to find some of those people as they're coming off the boat.
To see
and
how they
say,
liked it.
How was it? And
Yeah.
they're, usually they have one of the kids on their shoulder sound asleep, because
Yeah.
they had a great day at the beach. And it really is. Everybody comes off the boat with a smile, and the kids have a good time, and they're
Yep.
all covered with ice cream or whatever they
Oh,
were
yeah.
doing over there.
Yeah, you see them getting their last ice cream cone before they get on the
Oh,
boat.
absolutely.
Yeah. But I'm really serious about it being a recruitment tool, because I know many years ago there was a physician who was recruiting doctors for a residency program, and we did a little bit of a video, and we talked about the beach and the opportunities there were, to be a resident here in the town, and showing them the lighthouse. And we did footage B-roll down by the ferry terminal, watching the ferries go in and out. And it really is, we live in the most special place.
We do.
I mean, the town of Islip is incredible. I mean, I'm a little prejudiced, I'll admit, but when you think of the opportunities that we have to get on a train and go into Manhattan in under an hour, if Broadway's your thing and you want to take in, museums, I mean, there's so much.
Shopping,
Obviously, we
whatever.
have all of that here too. There are live theater productions and museums here, but there's nothing like the New York experience, So, but then to be able to get on a ferry and in under a half hour be in this magical place where there's no cars to speak of, and you can, just walk around. The kids love it, the freedom that they have to walk to the ice cream store, or walk to the candy store, by themselves, or walk to the playground, and parents don't have a care about worrying about the kids.
And that is, our kids grew up over there, so we're used to that. And there's not a lot of places on the planet that you can say this is how we live in the summer.
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing. And I think it is a good recruiting tool. I think the combination of our proximity to the city makes it accessible. So if you're trying to attract, big corporations to the town of Islip or Suffolk or Nassau, that that use all the tools, use all the arrows in your quiver to try to get those people
And
recruited.
we have an airport.
Yeah,
The
and
town
it's
owns
all,
an airport, and be able to, go back and forth to many destinations now nonstop, whether it be Virginia or the Carolinas or Florida.
well, and I think a lot of these,
And Boston now starting.
yeah, oh, that's right.
Yep, Cape Air is going to be flying 4 flights a day to Boston out of Islip, year round. So that's really huge.
It is huge, and I think that when you look at corporate leaders, and they're
Exactly.
coming from all over the country. They're coming from the West Coast, from the center, from Chicago. They have no idea what's out here, and so you
It's
got to
true.
show them. You got to say, as good as and. I think for a lot of people at those levels, New York City is a very good draw, but you don't want to raise your kids in New
No.
York City.
And they
I mean,
really
at
don't.
least from my perspective.
When you're saying that, it reminds me of a time the rating agencies, rate our credit worthiness, and it's important to have that AAA rating, which we have. But when I came to the town, we were a little bit below AAA. And I remember speaking to the controller and saying, well, when do the analysts come visit? And they said, oh, we just talked to them on the phone. And I said, no, I really want them to come visit. So we arranged, I got a van from seniors, And we drove around, and we drove past the ferry terminal, and showed them the vista of the bay, the marina, drove to the airport, got out at the airport, and I'll never forget, Alice said to me, "Why? This is a real airport." I had no idea, but she was sitting in her office, in Manhattan, reviewing our data and making a determination. Well, we got our AAA rating, and we've had it ever since. And I'm really quite proud of that, but it's important because it helps us when we go to market. We always get the
Sure.
best rates possible. But it really, everything that we have, pulling it together, it makes the town quite unique. And you and Fire Island Ferries obviously really contribute to that. I mean that sincerely.
I feel we're part of it.
Yeah.
We're part of the message, and we're part of the enjoyment that people can take, and all the locals that haven't taken advantage of it yet. Come on over.
Yeah, come on.
Come on down. Go to the beach.
You have to do that. You really, really have. And there are so many communities. We're not, it's not just Ocean Beach. There's Kismet and Doomwood and Lonelyville. I mean, that alone makes you want to get on the boat and check it out.
Well, it'll fit whatever you want to do.
Right.
I mean,
You want hustle and
quite
bustle?
frankly, the beach is the same for 32 miles.
Right.
So once you get down to the ocean,
It's the
the
ocean.
same.
Right.
But do you want to go shopping? Do you want to get some lunch? Do you want to be quiet? Do you want to have some action? And it's all there. It's all there.
It's all there. And especially, you won't be disappointed. We
And
promise
you won't
you
have
that.
to go to the Hamptons.
You won't have to go to the Hamptons. It's a
You go
lot
right
easier.
there.
A lot easier.
Oh,
really,
much.
Really. When we talked about the development that went up on Union Boulevard in Bayshore, Shoregate, gorgeous apartment complex, and it is transit-oriented development, and I say it all of the time. It's across the street from the train station. There's a bus stop in front. A half a block away is the downtown. But if you go a little bit further, you can hop on a ferry and go to Fire Island, or take a 10-minute Uber ride to the airport. I mean, you don't get much more transit-oriented development than that.
That's an amazing project.
Yeah, and it's an amazing hamlet, and it's an amazing town, and obviously, if you haven't gotten the idea yet, you'll know that we're really very, very proud of it. I did want to, as we're wrapping up, I do want to ask you, we spoke a little bit about the challenges, and certainly staffing isn't it, but is there something that you find really you think, oh, if I just didn't have to deal with this?
Well, other than the weather, regulations at all levels.
Mm-hmm.
We have, of course, we're under the jurisdiction of the Coast Guard, and we work closely with the Coast Guard on new provisions and new opportunities. The state, the DEC, and everybody's got their and the county, they control our fare structure,
Right.
and the town of Islip with, permitting and zoning, and
So it's, what I think he's trying to say is that it's not easy.
no.
It's not-
And let me just say this. When I first came, I was I came here from the computer industry, and I was, managed offices and did all that. And somebody else always worried about all those little details,
Gotcha.
like the real estate guys.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden I got here, and
You're,
it was like,
you're
oh,
chief cook and bottle washer.
you mean I just don't walk in and
Right.
sign a lease?
Yeah.
So it was very eye-opening, and and the experience has been, I think, opening a business and maintaining a business is not for the faint of heart.
No.
Well,
it's
you know
not.
that.
Well,
You've had
I
a
know that.
business.
I did it. And I tell you, it's something that everybody, especially those that work in government, should know, because when those regulations are passed, you have to stop and think, how is it going to affect the end user? Anyway, we could go on forever, but we are out of time. And I want to thank you for coming down, Tim.
No, you're welcome.
Keep doing what you're doing. Please give our best to all the staff
That's our
there.
plan.
Okay, sounds good. And we'll see you on the next edition of Supervisor Spotlight.